And now I'm so excited to kick off today's event, How to Unlock the Power of Innovation and Be Bold in Your Career, sponsored by Zimmer Biomet. Now, for those who don't know, Fairy God Boss is the largest career community for women. Millions of women visit Fairy God Boss for career connections, jobs, community advice, hard to find intel about how companies treat women, and virtual events just like this. Okay, we have Alaska. Oh my goodness. Pittsburgh, I've been there. Belgium. Whoa, this is major. This is major, guys. So we're so thrilled to be joined by three leaders at Zimmer Biomet, Corinne, Haley, and Lynn. So would you each take a minute to introduce yourselves? Please tell us about your job. What's your current role? How long you've been in the role, and what's your day-to-day like at Zimmer Biomet? Corinne, I'd love to start with you.
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm really glad to be here. Yeah, so I'm Karen Duval. I'm in the Montreal office. Actually, I'm part of the Tech and Data Solution Organization, and I've been with the company for 17 years now, almost. I actually started as a manufacturing engineer when the company was Orthosoft, and then moved to a more design role afterwards, where we got purchased by Zimmer. And I've actually been an R&D director for the past almost 5 years now, overseeing a few of our projects out of the Montreal site.
Wow. Haley, we'd love to hear from you.
Sure. Thank you, Lasheen. It's a pleasure to participate today, and I'm excited for the discussion. Hello, everyone. I'm Hallie Brinkerhoff. I've been at Zimmer Biomet almost 22 years now, in various roles in research, development, and innovation. I started my current role as R&D Innovation Director about 3 years ago, just a few weeks before the pandemic happened. And the purpose of this role is really to create programs, training, infrastructure to support and foster innovation in our pipeline, as well as across Zimmer Biomet as a whole. As everyone knows, innovation is not easy, and most innovation needs a lot of support in the way of mindset, process, and culture. And that's kind of what I do.
Amazing. Lynn, last but certainly not least, please introduce yourself.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, I also pleasure to be here. I'm the general manager for Zimmer Biomet in the newly formed cluster Benelux and Nordics. So I operate out of US. It's a cluster that consists of Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg, Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Finland, and Iceland. So I'm here since March 2022. So close to a year now, and I see my role more of a facilitator actually for the commercial team. On a daily basis, I coach, I lead, I challenge my great team, and also have conversations with surgeons around what problems they need to be solved and what we can do to help them to ensure that we are living our mission, more or less, alleviate pain and improve quality of life.
I love it. Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. So guys, I think that everyone's super excited to just jump right on into it and learn more. So we're going to kick off with that first question that I have for you, which is, let's get down to it. You're here because you've either led an innovative initiative or program, or you found innovative solutions to problems. So before we get into some of those programs and initiatives you're leading, tell us how having an innovative mindset has affected your career, your company, your employees, and your patients. Karen, I'd love for you to kick us off.
Absolutely. I think for me, having an innovative mindset, first of all, is you have to be ready to be uncomfortable, because you're going to be in spaces, in situation, in text that you know nothing about. So you have to be uncomfortable, and that has helped me a lot throughout my career. I'm an R&D. I'm in R&D right now and looking like over a different project. It could be on the neural side, it could be on the ortho side, but I've also worked like on manufacturing, on transfers. So you have to, I think for me that helped my career is that it certainly has taught me a lot about resilience and perseverance, because if you want to innovate, you have to be ready to fail. So you have to be ready to know that you're not going to get it at the first trial. You have to persevere, and that has helped me in my career to help me through tough times. You get to build that sense of grit, because you're trying to like you said before, you're just trying to create a new space or solve a problem or find a new way to solve a problem, and I think that has helped me a lot in my career, because I've kind of never said no. Every time something came by, I was like, let me try it, let me give it a try, and let me push forward. And I think for a patient, ultimately, because obviously, our Lynn said it best, our ultimate goal is at Zimmer Biomet is to really help our patients. So I think how fantastic it is to say that we, all of us, hundreds of engineers and people in marketing and different walks of life, are trying to find new ways to improve outcome for patient, and trying to find new ways to help with their problem. It could be, improving the outcome or reducing pain. So I think for me, these are the biggest things that I would say in terms of innovation for my career and for patients as well.
Absolutely amazing. Thank you for that. I love that. You can't be afraid to fail, and it just builds that grit and that resilience. So that's what it's all about. Haley, I'd love to know what you think.
Yeah, certainly. When speaking about innovation mindset, this is kind of a passion for me too. So I'd like to take this question almost a step further. Having an innovation mindset, and specifically to me, that means being open to others and their ideas, to learning with humility, so that you can be open to others. And this mindset impacts not just your career and your company, but your home, your family, your community, if you volunteer, everything that you do for the positive. By opening your mind in this way, you see positives in others. And what that does is it changes the whole conversation with people. When they see you as positive, as you see them as positive, and their ideas are supported. And so that supports collaboration, it builds trust, relationship, and that's how you build strong teams, strong communities in order to solve the problems that need to be solved in the world. And ultimately, in our case, help our patients.
Phenomenal. Lynn, same question for you.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it has been said. I think it starts with curiosity again, staying curious and jumping on different things. And if you look at Zimmer Biomet, why I joined, I find it very intriguing, all the ideas that is within this company, and where you can really see that innovation benefits patients. I just heard the other day from one of my team members who told me how we had been it was surgeon in a shoulder surgery where, through the usage of a HoloLens, OptiView HoloLens, which is a mixed reality solution, we could in real time communicate remotely with a ZB specialist when the surgeon wore this device, and then we could answer questions that came from the surgeon during this. And this, I think, is a lovely example of how we can, through innovation and technology, really help patients. That's what we're here for, and make sure it's used in a safe way. So that's really something that I think you need to be in an environment where this is possible, and when these ideas are made come true, basically.
Absolutely. Amazing. Guys, thanks so much for just kicking us off with such great and thorough answers here. So moving along just a little bit, we want to get a little deeper here. And I'm wondering, if you could tell us about the programs and initiatives that you're currently leading. For example, what inspired you, or, what inspired Zimmer Biomet to create this program? And what are you most proud of about this specific program? Hallie, I'd love for you to kick us off.
Sure. Since it's part of my role entirely, I'm currently leading several innovation initiatives focused on different areas, including fostering collaboration within Zimmer Biomet, innovation leadership, as well as creative problem solving. But I think the one that I want to highlight is really the one that is, we have a focus. It is our innovation fellowship. We started this 3 years ago to develop future innovation leaders and to increase innovation in our pipeline. Each year we select 4 team members from across the businesses, across the organization through an application process. And then those 4 team members come and work with me for 9 months on a project of strategic interest for the company. And those fellows learn and utilize innovation processes, they uncover unmet needs, and ultimately pitch a solution to leadership. You asked what I'm most proud of. And I think what I'm most proud of is how those team members have taken what they've learned back to their departments for the better of Zimmer Biomet. One of the fellows even created a mini fellowship within their department in order to foster innovation and further that effort. So.
That is so cool. You have a lot to be proud of there. Karine, I'd love for you to answer the same question.
Absolutely. It's so funny that Haley said that, because the fellow that she's talking about is actually working in my team and leading the project that I was going to talk about. So we haven't even talked about that, but it's very interesting. So actually, I'm overseeing a few programs, and one of them is the Next Generation for Rosa Brain. So kudos to the MedTech team who originally basically, innovated in a way that was very meaningful to come up with the solution. And now we're, kind of pushing through and working on the next generation. And actually, what Ailey is saying is that, one of the person that was in that program is actually leading that on the R&D side on my team as well. And I think for me, what I'm most proud of for this team specifically is that we've been able to create a team that's between the Montreal and the Montpellier side on the R&D side. And that's very meaningful, because it's not always easy sometimes to get 2 teams to collaborate, which are on 2 sides, 2 different time zone, with different backgrounds, with different culture experience, and coming to this with very different experiences. So I think myself and my colleague, which is in Montpellier, leading the R&D there, were very, made a huge effort to get them to collaborate together. And I think this is one of the things that we're, most proud of, to have this team working together on this project.
Phenomenal. And that kind of leads to a great segue for my next question. And Hallie, I'd love for you to kick us off with an answer on this one. But how do you overcome adversity, leading a bold new product, an innovation or an idea?
Yeah, I mean, with any innovation, there's going to be pushback, right? You got the naysayers, the people who don't believe in that's really the direction we should go. And in my mind, there's 2 critical elements of successful innovators that you need to have in place. One is tenacity, and the other is courage. Not taking no for an answer, using your curiosity and creativity to figure out another approach. Maybe find out what's important to those folks that you're pitching to, and reframing what you're pitching. Somehow figure out a way to turn that no into a yes. It often takes many, many times before an idea is accepted, or people see the value in what you're trying to propose. But if you're passionate about it, if you have tenacity and courage, and there's value in what you're doing, you'll find a way.
Absolutely. Lynn, I would love to hear from you on this same matter.
Yeah, I think it comes down to change management, right? So as always with change management, you have to start with a why, to put things into context, to really see, why are we doing this? And as a leader, you have to acknowledge that most of the time you have more information earlier than the team or anyone else. So you need to allow time for also team members to digest why we are doing a change, or why we are bringing in something new into it. So allow time to process, and also consider cultural implications and country-wise, because that's also something that is, for me, very, of course, important, being in several countries. and different health system. What value does this innovation bring, and how can we work together to really put it there and provide efficiencies or value for the system?
That makes a lot of sense. Great insight there. And it's also a really good segue for my next question, which I'm very curious about. Hallie, I'd love for you to kick us off on this one. How important is diversity in innovation? Do you have any examples? I'd really like this one to be fleshed out a little bit.
Yeah, certainly. In my opinion, it's absolutely critical. Absolutely critical. Innovation increases the diversity increases the likelihood for innovation to happen. Okay, if you want innovation, you need diverse teams, you need diverse perspectives. If you look at the definition of innovation, it's really a simple definition of it is innovation happens where two previously unconnected ideas get connected, right? Mm. And what better way to foster that than to have lots of different ideas coming to light, right? When you have different diverse perspectives and experiences amongst your team members, you increase that likelihood. As far as an example, I'm going to use the Innovation Fellowship again. We don't choose the top 4 applicants to the program. We choose the 4 candidates that create the best and diverse team and most diverse team. And we look at diversity across many measures, whether it be expertise, function, business, gender, culture, experience, location, whatever it may be. We want a diverse team for that Innovation Fellowship in order to increase our chances. And I will mention that we usually try to at least put one person with little to no knowledge of the subject area as well, just to get that question of why do we do it that way, in order to, question more and more and increase that diversity.
Love that. I really, really love that. Karen, I'd love for you to answer the same question as far as, how important is diversity in innovation? And do you have any examples?
Once again, I think, Hallie, you said it, so well. Absolutely. I think it's critical. To your point before, you're trying to find new ways to solve a problem. So you need different perspective. If you're sitting at your desk with the same perspective or the same background or the same experiences, it's very unlikely that you'll be able to find something that's novel. And I think, on my side, I don't have one specific example, but I think the Montreal side has always been very diverse. In culturally, in terms of backgrounds, in terms of experience, and it changed everything because we were we led the way for several different innovation changes, and I think diversity played a critical role in that. So I would think absolutely, diversity is critical if you want to innovate in a meaningful way.
Absolutely. So guys, I would love for us to start taking in some questions from the audience. So I am going to take a look over at our little comment box and see what's come in so far. Oh, okay. So this is specifically for you, Hallie. Hallie mentioned innovation processes. Can she or someone else elaborate on this?
Sure, absolutely. So specific to the Innovation Fellowship, we implement several different innovation processes. One of them is very specific to med tech and that sort of industry, but it is the Stanford Biodesign process is one that we implement through the Innovation Fellowship. Essentially, it's similar to any user design centered process, but it's specific to med device in several ways. There's some elements that are specific to that. We also teach our fellows as well as other people within the company. We have a training program in creative problem solving, which is another methodology that's kind of the foundational creative problem solving methodology that's out there today. So those are the two that we use.
Lasheen, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry about that, guys. Now, there's a second question here. Are there any current strategic innovation fellowships for new prospects? Is Zimmer Biomet ever considered partnering with a small business to idea innovative funding complements per the current corporate goals and existing of future R&D goals? This is for anyone to answer, by the way.
I can certainly answer it from the Innovation Fellowship standpoint. As it currently is implemented, we actually have a requirement that you're with the company at least a year before you can apply for the Innovation Fellowship. As far as strategic partnerships with startups and the like, I'll let my partners speak to this. But as far as that goes, we are open. We want to understand what else is going on, what other ideas there are out there, speaking to that diversity of thought. So we are open to that sort of collaboration.
And absolutely, if I can continue as well, I think there's no, in the past, I would say years, there's been a lot of focus and direction to be very intentional about innovating in a very bold way from the Zimmer Biomet perspective. So I think we're open to, it can be students, universities, small companies, people reach out to us in many different, different events for us to be able to connect because they have new ideas, they have new perspectives, somebody wants to contribute. So absolutely, I would say, there is a huge, I would say, intention on the company side to innovate in a meaningful way. And I think we're not close to any ideas when somebody proposes an idea. Obviously, there are some guardrails that we're operating under, but I think we're very open to hearing about them.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for chiming in there. And to keep the spotlight on you for a second there, what is your number one piece of advice for other women who are moving into or want to move into leadership and lead boldly?
I think you have to have some faith in yourself and trust in yourself. For me, I think the more and more we're seeing the leadership can be expressed in a lot of different ways, and there's no set way to be a leader. And you have the absolute power to create your own type of leadership. There are a lot of nuances in the way that, for example, women or men or, from different cultures and background, we operate and we lead. And I think we have to understand, you have to know what your strengths are and you play with your strength. Sometimes we look at leaders and we have a very set way of what a leader should be, someone that's very, direct and assertive and not necessarily. So you have to trust in yourself. You have to know what your strengths are, and you play with your strength, and you be a leader that's authentic because you're following your core and what your personality is. So for me, that's the biggest thing. Not try to emulate somebody else. Trust yourself and find your own path and your own type of leadership.
I love that so much. That was a great answer. Lynn, I would love your insights on this. What is your number one piece of advice for other women who are looking to become leaders and lead boldly?
I'd say don't be afraid of moving out of the comfort zone. That is number one. Be curious and look for mentorships, support, advice. That I think is really important, and try to find a company where that is also within the culture, right? So that you can always seek out for advice and support, because people want to support. It's just to pop the question. And then I agree with Corinne, is around being yourself, being true to who you are. I heard this abbreviation of, or combination of two words, which really resonated with me. I can't remember the source right now, but it was ambition. So a combination of humility and ambition. And that is possible. You can be ambitious at the same time as you stay true to who you are. If you that is what I think is important. Stay true. If this is who you are, then be like that.
Exactly. Stay true to yourself. I love this so much. This is fantastic stuff, everybody. Moving along a little bit here. I'd love a lot of thought on this one, and any examples you can provide. So, Corinne, what's one strategy you've used when managing an individual or team that you think has been particularly effective?
I think to try to connect in a meaningful way, either when an individual is going through something, it could be on a professional level or personal level that's affecting their work, or even creating teams. I think if you create teams that have a true connection in a meaningful way, that surpasses a specific task or problem or a project. So that means that whatever rough or difficult time they're going to go through, because as we said before, innovation is sometimes about failing. If you have that team that has a true connection in a meaningful way, they're able to pass through these tougher times. So I think that for me, that's been the one of the biggest things for me, is to create that kind of synergy, kind of people that live within that, a little bit of a tribe, I would say, that it can help and support each other. So I would say build teams that have true and real connection with each other.
Fantastic. Hallie, same question. What's one strategy you've used when managing an individual or team that you think has been particularly effective?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with Corinne. I feel that my role as a leader is not necessarily to tell them what to do or how to do it, but really to facilitate the team's ability to be successful. And in order to do that, you really need trust. You want to build trust. You want to be curious about the team members as people with goals and lives outside of work. Understand the strengths within the teams, and then utilize those strengths to the team's advantage. But absolutely, connection, relationship is definitely important.
Absolutely. So I want to throw a little bit of a curveball your way. Corinne, I'd actually like for you to answer this one first, because you've mentioned failing a couple of times. What's been your most valuable career mistake? And anybody else can answer too afterwards.
I would say for me, maybe is underestimated, like I said at the beginning, the value of having a well-connected team. I think we start a project and sometimes you put individual on a project, and individually the people are great and they're smart and they're very capable. But then when you put all of this together, sometimes you kind of, for me personally, one of the mistakes that maybe I've made in the past is maybe not understanding how to complement a team best, and how critical it is from the get-go to have a team that balances each other out, that can play to each other's strengths and weaknesses. So I think the biggest mistake was not to be intentional enough and understanding how important it was to create a team that's well balanced. And you're not going to get it on the first try, but I think, as I say, that's one of the reasons why, in terms of, I would say, failing. So not necessarily, I would say this one failing, but at least correcting and redirecting maybe the initial team that you had, and make sure that you have a team that's well balanced, so that the people can complement each other's.
I love that. Thank you. I'd love for anybody else to answer that same question. What's been your most valuable career mistake?
Sure, I'll take a stab at that. I absolutely agree. Team is critical to success. As far as kind of the most, my career mistake, I would say that it's not pushing myself hard enough, like putting preconceived limits up, that you may think that, well, leadership's not going to like this or that. What's the harm in trying and pushing a little further, pushing a little harder? It speaks to that fear of failure and not wanting to get that negative feedback, but you don't really know how far you can go until you push those limits. And I think especially early in my career, maybe I didn't push those limits far enough in some cases.
Great. Lynn, did you want to take a stab at it?
Yeah, I think if I look back, I think there have been times when I haven't listened to my gut feeling as I should. And it eventually went well, but what I learned from it is that actually my gut feeling is quite good. And you should take some time to listen to it. You can have the great learnings from it and experiences, but that what I would say would be my mistakes or so.
Cool. Thank you. So another question that I have is, what do you believe is the number one thing managers must do when onboarding new employees? How did your own management, support you during this process? And this is for anybody to answer.
I think it comes back to what Corinne said before about connection. It's around making people feel welcome, to take the time to both introduce to yourself as a manager, but also to help connect with internal stakeholders. So you create your own network, because that is so important when you move forward in your role, because then you need the network. You need to find your way around. And this is also coming back to what Corinne said, it's around creating this feeling of belonging, of connection. And that's really what's driving, and it's imperative for a successful team going forward and your success in the company. So take time to really go through all those one-on-ones and listen and find your own ways in the organization when you're new. And as a manager, you have a responsibility to make sure that this is happening. And I'm lucky being quite new then into the company. I think this was really very helpful for me in the onboarding.
Absolutely. Would anybody else care to take a stab at this one?
Sure. I would say don't underestimate the fact that it's difficult for somebody to start a new job. It's a little bit, when you're like starting high school and, you have the cafeteria and you don't know anybody and you don't have anyone to sit with. I think don't underestimate. In our minds, we're like, okay, people have done this before, they've changed job, and if they have a question, they'll reach out. Not necessarily. And I think one of the things that I found too is that COVID had made it hard for us as well, because no longer we were sitting in offices, together, going to grab coffee or going for each other's birthday. You had to be intentional about reaching out to people, say, hey, you're new, is there anything that you need? And I think I would say not to underestimate that, because it's hard starting a new job. You have to build again all your network, all your, sorry, I'm trying to talk about it in French, but you have to build like kind of your new group of friends, and it's not easy sometimes. So I would say that you have to be intentional about reaching out to new employees and making sure that they feel connected to the team.
Absolutely, that makes perfect sense to me. Lynn, did you have any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I do actually. So as far as onboarding new team members and whatnot, one of my other roles is leading our co-op program here, development engineering co-op program, and so I'm constantly onboarding new students. And absolutely, both what Lynn and Corinne said, both are absolutely critical. Make them feel welcome. Don't underestimate how hard it is. It is truly like drinking from a fire hose in your first few weeks, trying to understand what the projects are, what the language is, because, every company has their own acronyms, and understanding what that is and what that means and who to talk to about it. So, trying to just be available for them and let them know that you're available for them, and what the expectations are. that we know you're going to be drinking from a fire hose for the first month or two, or maybe it's weeks, whatever it may be for that role. But just making sure that you check in with them, that they know the expectations, that they're not failing if they come to ask for a question, ask a question and reach out.
Love that. I particularly love that phrase, drinking from a fire hose. I just learned that phrase recently. So when you say it, I'm like, oh my God, everybody does say that. I don't know how I never heard it before. So guys, I have a really good question here. How do you think about making sure your direct reports feel well supported in their lives, both in and out of the office? And Lynn, I'd love for you to kick us off on this one.
Yeah, I'd say, first of all, focus on results, not the number of hours. So build it around that. And I think as a leader, you also have the responsibility to walk the talk. So for example, we have meeting-free Friday afternoons. And we have a policy of not emailing after business hours and during weekends. And then I also have a responsibility to do the same, right? I need to shuffle around if there pops up a meeting request, or it's so easy that people think that what is required because the leader is doing something. So there, I think it's really important that you take it seriously, and to help people put up some good boundaries. And yes, it's your responsibility also to create the boundaries, but coming back to me as a manager, I also need to create an environment which is open, which is built on trust, where you can actually talk to if there are pain points in your life that makes it hard to juggle for a bit. So that I think is really important, and what I try to do.
I love it. Corinne, same question.
Yeah, I think I agree so much with what Lynn is saying. Walk the talk. It's so true. And I think when your team or direct report going to something that a little bit of a more difficult time in terms of, okay, we're trying to find a new, we're having this problem and we're trying to resolve it. It could be technical. It could be, with managing their own team members. I would say be present. We have a responsibility of results as a team, but you have to show that you are in this boat with them, that you're not just like detached from it, and that you're just somebody that's, basically just giving orders, or you're in the boat with them. We're all in this together, and we have that responsibility to deliver. And I think the other thing is that outside of work is very important, but work is not the most important thing. Work is not everything. So you need your team members to feel that they're well-rounded and balanced. And, sometimes you see people, they're like, they haven't slept, in 3 days because they have a newborn, or, their mom is going through something because they're in the hospital. And you have to say, you know what, it's okay for the next few days to be not as productive. It's okay for you to take a step back. You have other people that you can rely on as well. So I think for me, it's to say to them sometime, obviously we have a responsibility to deliver our project and result in our products, but people have to feel a sense that it's okay for them as well to have a personal life, that it's fine.
I love that. And as you were saying that, it kind of reminded me of when I first broke into the corporate America world. They used to say, leave your personal life at the front door, as in this way of like, you have to kind of shut off everything that you're going through. And once you're at work, it's all about work. And I, for one, just love that we're starting to become a community that sees it differently now. You can balance the two. You don't have to turn one off to become a corporate person, or you know what I mean. So I just love that you're saying that, and that we have an audience here that's being able to absorb this kind of information, because I think the world is becoming a much better place because of things like that. So we have a ton of questions coming in from the audience. This is going to be literally for anybody to answer. So whoever unmutes first gets the gold. So First off, does innovation require being bold?
We're so polite. I mean, 100%. And I think like it's maybe a bit cliche, but I think there's no innovation if you're not bold, because as we said many times before, you have to be ready sometime to present a solution, or to face people that are going to tell you, hey, it's not possible, it's never going to happen. So you have to, absolutely, you have to be bold about it.
Everyone agree with that?
I do. And I think it goes back to that courage piece I was talking about before. Having courage to be bold, it's definitely essential to innovation.
Absolutely, I agree as well. Let's see here. Next question. Are there medical affairs positions in Zimmer Biomet? In other words, what do you think of the role of physicians in medical affairs in mid-tech companies?
I can speak to that one. For me, it's a little bit of two different things, and maybe you have a different perspective. So physician, for us, we partner with them all the time, because at the end of the day, for us in our space, if you're talking about enabling techs, that means, robotics, navigation products, or any other product we bring into the OR, the physician will end up being, one of the main users of your technology. So we do partner with physicians for them to guide us throughout the whole development of the project, because they're going to be the ones that are seeing these screens and using these instruments. So absolutely. And then medical affair worlds, I would say probably always, because we're always probably looking for people in medical affairs. So for me, these are a little bit two different topics, but I would say yes. In terms of partnering with a physician, it's something that we do pretty regularly.
Great. All right. Let's keep it on moving. So, what are the personalities you've come across when trying to propose innovation, and how do you work with them? Like, for example, the naysayer, the budget conscious, the one who isn't interested.
I'll take that one. Or Lynn, I saw you. No, okay. So I think each one requires a different approach. You need to think about what's important to them and why they don't see value in your idea. Then, based on your experience and your knowledge of what your idea can be, you create that pitch for that person in particular. Whether it be the naysayer, the budget conscious, you look at what your approach is and tailor it for each of those. And maybe sometimes your idea is not feasible because of something they brought up. It could be that, hey, it's not going to work in this situation. But being able to test those waters and have those conversations, it's always good to reach out to people in those. If you've got a naysayer in a certain area, reach out to someone in that department early and say, hey, what else do I need to consider with my idea for that pitch? So.
Exactly. Anybody else want to chime in on that one? Dealing with different personality types?
Yeah, I think as Helen says, it's around listening, right? It's around understanding. It's not that the personality is this and that. It's because we are not talking the same language, and we need to speak to what's really that person's need. What is that person's pain point, whether it's internally or externally as a person. So I don't think it's that easy to say we box in different places, but actually, why is it that, what is it in my communication that makes it hard to understand? How should I phrase it? What is it in this person's environment that is not where I am? And trying really to understand, because then you can speak to it and maybe you have the best solution for that specific need, or there's something else, and then you learn from that and you can innovate from that.
Very good. Thank you so much. Corinne, did you want to jump in on this one?
I think Lynn and Haley did just a great job of echoing the same sentiment that I have.
Phenomenal. I have a really interesting question here that I think you guys are going to want to jump on. So how do you handle a situation where there's an established team that is underperforming and you are assigned to the team to help them become productive? They don't want your assistance and do everything to make you seem to be the problem. What are some suggestions on getting them to become more productive and understand your role? That one is spicy, right?
I can start this one. I think coming from an engineering perspective, I would say one of the things that I'm learning more and more, and I don't pretend to have all these answers, but I think first thing is to put metrics in place, because the thing is that you can have your own sentiment about why a team is not productive. So we have a responsibility of result, and you can show to a team, for example, in Montreal office, we work, for example, in agile mode. So there are metrics that you can show to the team. Hey guys, we have to deliver, X for every week. So this is the data. What do you think? Do you think guys we're doing a good job? And I think the biggest thing to do is to kind of let facts and data speak for itself, because we get very, if you get only the sentiment, or it becomes personal, and it doesn't, for it to be productive, it should not be personal. It should be about what are you delivering, what are your metrics, and are you delivering to what you said you were going to be? And it's not me that necessarily saying that, it's the data that you guys have that are saying that. So the first thing I would say is to really demonstrate by facts, because you can get a lot of sentiment and a lot of perspective in the situation, but a lot of times you say that when you measure something you can get better at it. So I think that's one of the situations that I think it's helpful. And the second thing I would say is that you have to show the team that you're there to clear the pathway to help them become their best self at delivering. You're not there to tell them, I want you to do X, Y, Z. I often tell my team, you guys are much smarter than me. You guys are the expert in terms of software and electronic and instrument design. You're much smarter than me, but I'm here to make sure that I clear the pathway so you guys have all the tools that you need to become better. I'm not here to tell you what to do. So I think that those are the two biggest things. First, data, and second, to show them that you're there to support them and not necessarily the other way around.
That is great. That is such great advice there. I love that. Would anybody else like to chime in on this one?
Sure. I totally agree with everything that Corinne said. I'd like to add, there have been some times in my career where maybe I've worked with a struggling team, whether it was performance or otherwise, might have been other issues going on. One approach I like to take, just kind of more specifically, is to meet individually with each person on that team to understand where they're coming from, what their mindset is, what their challenges are, what they feel the goals are, in order to get alignment around the team, but also to, as Corinne said, knock down some of those hurdles that they might see in front of themselves that either are there or maybe, maybe not, but still, clear that pathway for them.
Absolutely. Lynn, anything on this one?
No, I think it's been said beautiful from both Hallie and Corinne. Thank you.
I agree. So speaking of career and innovation, what are some of the steps you have taken to push towards a career focused in innovation and be a prominent part in new projects?
That's a good question. I think for me, maybe one of the things that I I was lucky enough to be in an environment that fostered innovation, and that mattered. I think my boss and my colleagues, it's always being a part of the DNA of our site. I would say of our company. So that helps a lot. When the environment is there, it's much easier for you to nurture that, because there's so many opportunities for us, either brainstorming sessions, and looking at new texts, being on conversation. You're exposed to it, so you kind of learning almost by osmosis, right? Because it's all around you. And I think the second thing for me is almost never saying no to these things. You're gonna, like I said before, you're gonna be uncomfortable. Sometimes you're not gonna know the space, you're not gonna know the procedure, you're not gonna know the tech. Um, and you have to be intentional. I mean, roll up my sleeve. I don't know that I'm open to that opportunity, about learning about it, and putting myself in a position that I could contribute to that technology. So I would say I was lucky enough that I was in an environment that fostered innovation, that really helped me, in my career, because it was all around me, I would say.
Yeah, I'd like to add something as well. Early in my career, as I was starting out as a young manager, I have a PhD in biomedical engineering, and I was all about the science and the engineering aspects of it. As I became a young manager, it was more and more obvious to me that it wasn't necessarily about the engineering and the science. It was about the people. And so what I did in order to, push innovation and learn more about innovation, I wanted to create those creative teams, those high-performing, high-functioning creative teams. And so I sought out opportunities to learn more about those things. What are the skill sets that you need for that? What are the mindsets that you need for that? And how do you foster it in others? And so there have been several, trainings that I've been to. I mentioned creative problem solving training. That was one thing that I did. There's a creativity conference called the Creative Problem Solving Institute that has many different programs around that. And so that was just a passion of mine that I kind of went off and pursued on my own. And it has definitely helped in, leading teams through innovation.
Love that. Thank you so much for answering that. So, as we're starting to wrap up just a little bit here, we're winding on down. At Fairy Godboss, we have a tradition of asking our panelists the following. Now, what we've observed is that in some cases, women don't always feel comfortable enough bragging or taking ownership of all the amazing things that they've achieved. So I'd love for each and every one of you to share with us an accomplishment, whether personal or professional, that you're most proud of. Anyone can start off.
I agree with you. Sometimes for us women, it's almost cringe-worthy having to, talk about our accomplishment, because your mind always goes back immediately to what you're doing, what you're not good at. A lot of time when you're being asked, what are you proud of? You're like, yeah, I'm proud of it, but don't, I know that I'm not good in like these 5 other things. So your question is dead on. I would say, once again, very cliche, but it goes back to the team. When I first started a few years ago, the team was much smaller, and sometimes I look at these problems and they look like like I could never just surpass them. And now I'm so grateful and happy to be surrounded by this team that was created over the years. I think they're resilient, they're smart, and it's such a almost kind of a proud mama bear moment sometimes when you see everybody working collectively together to find a solution to a problem. So it makes, I would say, the not so fun times worthwhile, because that you've created something that it's much bigger than yourself. It's people that have fun working together. It's people that are bringing, technology and innovation. So I think for me, it's really about the team, the team that I have that I'm most proud of.
Love that.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. There's no better feeling than when the team is faced with a problem and they just know exactly how they want to approach it, who's going to do what. It's seamless. You barely even have to make a move or knock down any hurdles because they've already thought of that. Totally agree. I would say my most proud moment or the thing I'm most proud of are the teams and the team members. And then watching those team members go on in their careers to lead innovation teams or whatever it may be, just advancing to where they want to go in life. There's no better feeling.
Lynn,
No, agree. Seeing a team member grow, that's amazing. I also, if I look back to I'm proud that I dared to jump on opportunities that's been presented, to go out of that comfort zone, to get into a new environment, starting to connect the dots and see the picture and then work together with the team to go to the next step. That is something that I can see that I'm proud of. And on a personal note, I must also say that I'm actually proud of, I have two sons, which I raised at the same time as I have had a rewarding career, which I really enjoy. And that's something on a personal note that I'm proud of.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. Well, folks, we are just about at the end of this. We're just about at the finish line here. So I wanted to thank you guys so much, Corinne, Hallie, and Lynn, for joining us today and for sharing such fantastic and tangible advice. And thanks to all of you who tuned in for the discussion today. Now, as a reminder, we'll be sending out a recording of today's event, along with resources to learn more about opportunities at Zimmer Biomet. In the meantime, be sure to check out Zimmer Biomet's profile and jobs right here on Fairy Godboss. Also, everyone, we'd love to hear your feedback to help us improve future events. So please head to the Typeform tab on the right side of your screen and share your thoughts in a quick 1-minute survey. If they ask you anything about me, only good things. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time. Have a great day and great start to your week. Thanks, everybody.
And Lasheen, before we go, I just want to say happy birthday to my mom because I know she's probably. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.